Good evening, Mr. Jonah. Your business address for the record.
Good evening, Mr. President. My name is Arkin Jonah, AF Jonah Development, 4036 Telegraph Suite 201 in Bloomfield Hills. Mr. President, Council, Mayor, if I may just take a second out to talk about pink. Earlier this afternoon, I was informed that it's pink night tonight. I called my wife and asked if I had a pink shirt. There was quiet on the other line. I went home and changed, and on the way from home to coming here, I did two things. The Jonah family, about 8 years ago, suffered a loss of my sister-in-law to breast cancer. I called her three sons and made them promise to me that next August, September, they're going to take an initiative to do something with pink for next year. I also called my property manager that handles properties across from South Wayne County up to Genesee, through Livingston, through Grand Rapids, and I told him that next year each one of the properties has to identify pink somehow, some way. So thank you. What we've got tonight is we're looking to get approval to do about 30,000 square foot of retail, 5,500 square foot Applebee restaurant, and 4 buildings occupying 108 units of apartments. I thought prior to going into the plan that we've got in front of us to show you a little bit of a history about AF Jonah Development and what we've done in the last 30-some-odd years that we have been in the development business. This is a property along Big Beaver that's just east of Somerset Mall that is just now opening. If you would look at the design and the use of the materials, this is all stone. Right there, that's all solid limestone. This area is all split face block, and we use the split face block as an accent to the solid stone. The planters along the road, very, very well conceived landscape plan. Another shot of public space and how we try to make this. This is between 2 buildings, a shopping center, and there's a Flagstar Bank, trying to make walkways and to have outdoor space and to be able to use it as with outdoor seating and people to move. This is a property at Long Lake and Telegraph. This is where our offices are. This is a mixed-use development that has approximately 11,000 square foot of retail on the first floor and second floor offices. This is the corner of Long Lake and Woodward. This was originally housed by a Shell gas station in the old Fox and Hounds building. We demoed and redeveloped the property. Again, looking at the materials, you've got slate roof, solid copper, all limestone, and brick, with brick and limestone as accent through the whole property. This is another shot of the front, again looking at the solid stone and the split face with accent. This is another property. This is across the street from the Crittenton Hospital. It's adjacent to this. This is an 80,000 square foot mixed-use development that we've done, again using brick and limestone to separate it. This is at just south of our building at Long Lake and Telegraph. This is going to be a 3-story executive club lifetime fitness center. It sits on approximately 5.5 acres of land that took us, about 9 years to complete an assemblage. With that said, we are long-term holders of real estate. We believe in developing in a very high-quality fashion. We believe in longevity, and we believe in doing it right from the beginning. The site plan that you have right now is what we're proposing. Terry touched on the differences of the apartment, the residential, and the pool and the community center, the retail, and the Applebee's restaurant. The whole idea about developing this site plan was to be able to make this a walkable community mixed-use environment. We've connected the properties with the sidewalks along Southfield Road, having the walkways connecting the Applebee's restaurant, walkways to connect the residential with the commercial. We've taken in consideration parking. Eventually, Southfield Road it will be redeveloped. We've designed the building. We've designed the parking along Southfield Road to have more than what we need, with a row of parks that will eventually will be needed for the redevelopment of Southfield Road. We've taken a lot of time in figuring out the landscaping on this property. We've got approximately 1,300 foot of frontage along Southfield and along 12 Mile. We didn't want to have just a regular row of trees, and just a straight landscape area. We've come up with a section of landscaping that has the berm areas, the columns, and some more screening along so that parking, if you look at the existing walk and the parking on this side, will be screened adequately. More so, we're looking to have a roving type meandering site that has various site elevations along the site. The elevation of the building on the retail, again, if you notice the material types, you've got the stone, you've got brick, and you've got the split face stone. All timeless, classic materials that we feel withstand time and phases in shopping center times. We spent a lot of time on the corner. We're looking to create a little plaza dedicated to the same beads, some benches and seating would be attractive. We've created a garage area that will be used, one, as a screening area between the residential and the commercial, and also to be used as storage if need be by the tenants in the residential. The residential buildings. We looked at considerable amount of buildings throughout Southfield. All that we've seen is the traditional 2- and 3-story buildings. There's nothing that comes out at us and says, wow, we're looking to make this something a little bit different than what's there anywhere in Southfield. We feel that there's a need for this. We feel that There's something that says, wow, we feel that this says cool. We've taken considerable amount of time in looking at the interior elevations and the elevations of the buildings. Again, the materials, brick and stone, something that will last a long time. Things that we do within our properties, in management of these properties, we have someone on hand at these properties every day. We maintain, we sweep, and we clean. We have someone assigned to this. It's not 3 days a week sweeping. We have someone cleaning and maintaining 6 days a week at the centers. I think I covered most everything. Terry, if you think of anything.
I just want to remind council that there's 3 separate items tonight. The very first public hearing is just on the rezoning, but we wanted to give an overview and introduction of the entire project. So ZR 1319 is a rezoning request of Jonah Development to rezone 4.74 acres of R2 single-family residential property to B2 business, planned business, 0.11 acre of P vehicular parking to RMM multiple family medium rise, and 4.6 acres of R2 single-family residential property to RMM multiple family residential. And the property is located at 18290 West 12 Mile Road at the northwest corner of 12 Mile and Southfield Roads.
Terry, if I may, one more. I apologize. I forgot to touch on the Applebee's.
I don't know.
The Applebee restaurant was looking to go into Southfield when the Walmart item was in front of you on this property. The Shostak family currently owns Applebee's for the state of Michigan, and we're personal good friends, and I've convinced them to stay at this intersection and stay with it and let us build them a store here. I've got David Shostak that's here with us tonight if you need him to address the Applebee's. The Applebee restaurant that's going to be built is the first of its kind in the state of Michigan as far as design, exterior, and interior. David, if you'd like.
No, I don't want.
Thank you, Arkin. My name is David Shostak. My address is 17800 Laurel Park Drive, Livonia, Michigan. And I apologize for not wearing pink. I did not get the memo, and my wife is a survivor of breast cancer, so shame on me. Thank you. Anyways, here to support this development that Arkin and the Jonah family are proposing. It's very exciting for the city of Southfield. Applebee's is a part of the division of Shostak Brothers. We do own and operate 65 Applebee's in the state of Michigan. We would love to be able to put one here in Southfield. We've talked about it before. And the plan that Arkin and his company has come up with is something that works for us, and I would encourage the council to approve it. I think these plans, both the shopping center portion of it as well as the residential portion of it, is an integral plan that needs to be considered and approved together. And by doing so, it makes the economics of it viable for not only Arkin and his company, but also for Applebee's and for us. So we are here to say that if you can approve the plan that's submitted, it is something that we are excited about doing in the city of Southfield. And happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Hang on. All right.
I have a question, but I'll ask you later, not now.
We're going to have the public hearing first. So I haven't declared the public hearing open yet, unless Mr. Crow, you're done. All right, then this is the public hearing on the rezoning of the 12 Mile.
I may need 38 seconds over 5 minutes.
Excuse me?
I may need 38 seconds over 5 minutes.
We're starting right now, Ms.
Okay. Pamela Gerald, P.O. Box 155, Southfield, Michigan 48037-0155. For a long time, and still, I have been an independent voice for Southfield. I'm not in favor of this type of development at such a short, stacked, and I'll call it a stacked corner. Walmart was not good for there. I don't think this is a good project for that particular location. I've eaten at Applebee's. Some of them have been good. Some of them have been bad. They don't always know how to fix my favorite thing, which is salmon, but okay. I'm in favor of putting this development in the real DDA, which is the 9-mile, 8-mile corridor. We are trying to push everything from 10 to 12, from Southfield to Telegraph, and it's just not big enough. Now, one of those plans up there looked like the same thing I saw during the Walmart thing, that people was not against Walmart, it was just the location. Now, why would you not take such a beautiful plan to Northland? Why would you not put it near the premier hospital, Providence Hospital? Why would you not put it near Oakland Community College? Everything is being put around LTU, around this Central Plaza Parkway, near Evergreen. Southfield does not start at City Hall. And this is what all the residents south of 10 Mile and north of 8 Mile feel, especially the people near the John Grace area, especially people on 9 Mile. You are not doing enough creatively to develop that particular area. Now, Mr. Yono has been at that funeral home for a long time, and I like Mr. Yono. I love what he did with the front of that particular funeral home. He spent a lot of money and showed you his commitment to the city of Southfield. Now, I'm not in favor of tax abatements, but let me show you how creatively I think. He should have been given a tax abatement to get that church, if you weren't going to give it to Reverend Jackson, who's African American, and he was willing to pay over $3 million for the church during the time that the original cardinal was there, Maida, I think that's his name. So now I would say give Mr. Yono a tax abatement, let him buy the church, since he showed you his commitment by putting money into the front of his funeral home. Let that church be where he would have his funerals. So he's got the space, he's got the parking, and then the smaller place could be used to prepare the bodies. Like the development, not in that particular area, would like to see it near 9 Mile, 8 Mile to rebuild that area. Now, if he was allowed to buy this property, he would have gotten 22 parking spaces, which you guys know, all of you up there, would have made a difference with his building. 169 down to 147. You've seen people crossing the street, older people. That's not safe, and it's dangerous. Why would you do that? Why would you even consider putting this there? If I was privy to have a condo, and I'm not, I wouldn't want to be across from a funeral home. I wouldn't want to smell a restaurant right up on me like that. Take this to Northland. Take it to south of 10 and develop that area. Develop the real DDA. Now, it was purported, and I don't know for sure, but I want to ask the question and then have one of you to respectfully ask the same question. It was purported that a $3 million donation was made to the Archdiocese prior to the purchase of this property. I want that question to be asked of anybody that's a part of this project. And if that is true, what's purported, and I don't know, I just want the question asked, is that a perceived conflict of interest? And if there was a $3 million donation made, is it tax deductible? You guys have got to listen to Mr. Gibbs. He said that since Southfield is the center and the center of it all and diversity in the all-American city, you can't just let people come here and tell you where they want to open up. You guys have got to show that this is a great city And you have got to say, this is where we need development at. This is where this project would fit. You can't just let people keep piling on development after development after development.
Your time is
and
up,
the high
Ms. Gerald. Your time is up.
Thank you.
I don't want to rebut this, but we have nothing to do with, we don't own the property. Someone has bought this property, and they're bringing a plan to us. So it's not anything this council has done. But I'm going to go on to our next speaker, Mr. Gilliam. Good evening.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Silvers, and the other city council, that honorable mayor, attorney, administrator, our clerk, and the planner. I wish I was the developer over here. He pulled it off. He acquired that land. Nobody knew about it up for sale, but I don't have $3 million. So I wish I could have, been there when he bought that a few months ago. But we do need something on that. Since he owned it, we do need something there. But I'd like to point out something. I understand here the security guy here look over security. Things go around in a circle. I believe that I seen the guy a couple months ago, the security officer. He looked like he's about my age. I was born in the 50s. And that little gap in between those two retail buildings there that he planned on putting there, everything go around in a circle. My first job was newspaper boy. And I got patted down going in between something like that over about 40 years ago. So, these crooks now have these texting things. A couple can be behind you and text a pigeon coming through. Ladies get their purse snatched going in between that. Or even somebody get a plank upside their head on the 1st of the month, 15th of the month. But if you want it there, it's the developer's plan. If you want it there, I just wanted to point that out about security. Also, let me see. I understand some investors, which is nothing wrong with that. A group of them pull their money. They get the shot with what's ever going into those retail buildings. They get the shot of that's what you're supposed to do, put your own people in there. But the people here in Southfield, you're just going to be picking in. We have his people supposed to come first. He own it. But the people here, you might as well look somewhere else. You're not going to get the rent any of those buildings up there. I tell you that right now. But that belongs to him. And I just wish some of the, the young entrepreneurs would have had a chance to get up there. Now, I understand that he said he's going to, you can write put in an application to get up there, but I know how that's going to turn out. Everybody here in Southfield be picking in. But you can spend your money up in there, and somebody just getting that money away from here. I admire the guy. I wish I could have got 75 some projects all the way across the state here, and a group of investors just coming in, getting loaded. But I didn't say all I can say. But we do need something on that. Developer, you pulled it off. It's yours. It's yours.
Thank you, Mr. All right. This is a public hearing. Anyone else wishing to speak?
Hi, Stephanie English, 28735 San Carlos, Southfield 48076. And since I do understand that this is going to be broken up in a couple of pieces, I'm going to make a short speech and then answer to the site plan. I am going to support this project, and I actually want to thank the developers for going back to the table. I was able to see the original site plan, and there's been a distribution of the new site plan. And I feel that they really did some work in trying to cut down their waivers that they were asking for. I'll speak on the win-win for the project later, but I agree with the gentleman, and actually I give a lot of credence to what Pam Gerald said. it does look like a lot of the concentration and focus is in certain areas of Southfield. But if those are the most viable areas for business development, then we just have to work with that viability. I think that the developers have been proactive to try to bring a very progressive project forward. So my comments here is to support the rezoning. We had been offered an opportunity, part of the Walmart Spearhead group of people. I think that the council has been very generous in letting us give our inputs, and the site plan, and I'll speak on that later, the site plan has included some of the concerns that were discussed there. So I feel that the developer is being proactive, and you guys have been very aggressive with trying to put a viable project there. And I think that we just need to move forward, you know, so that it can progress. And just to ask a question, so we'll be able to come back again to speak on the site plan issue?
The site plan is not a public hearing.
It's a special use, though.
The special use for the restaurant is.
The special use for the restaurant.
Right.
Well, if I have just a few more seconds.
3 public hearings tonight.
3
Go
public.
ahead.
I'm going to just be quick with. I just want a win-win for this whole project. I want a holistic return. I did email the developer and the council members a letter. I won't go into great detail, but there were 4 components here, 4 key stakeholders: the developer, the surrounding homeowners, the surrounding businesses, and then the city of Southfield at large. And I felt 3 out of those 4 stakeholders did have some benefit, except for the surrounding business owner that was the funeral home. And what I am asking is that there just be a holistic conclusion, that I respectfully ask the developer to consider a very small 40-foot by 70-foot parcel be allowed to be sold to the funeral owner who has been vying for that piece of land just for his parking lot expansion project. I just want a win-win for all stakeholders. I think that's very important as we come to this conclusion. And even though the developer can say, hey, it's not my problem, I'm my brother's keeper. If there's different components that affect another entity, then we should still look at the impacts. The funeral owner has been trying to get a piece of the land from the Archdiocese for a very long period of time, and every other developer did either promise that he could buy this very small parcel or they were going to give it to him. Walmart was going to actually just give him the land. So in making your decision, I'm hoping you see that everything is integral and it's tied together. I think that my letter to the developer was respectful, and it's just a courteous request that he at least consider this. The funeral owner needs that expansion for safety purposes. His business has always expanded. We have visitors visiting that funeral home that are crossing 12 Mile in high traffic times, which is very dangerous. We haven't had a fatality yet, but if there were to be one, it would be attributed to the fact that he did not have the expanded parking that he has been requesting for at least 6 years that I know of. So in making that consideration, I wish that that my request is, I hope my request is respectful to the developer, and I hope you give consideration to that. It's not that you can even ask the developer to do this. I'm just saying hopefully there can be some dialogue that everyone has the win-win.
Thank you, Ms. English. Anyone else who wishes to speak? Yes, sir. Good evening, Mr. Gunther.
Good evening. I'm Harmon Gunther. I reside at 19101 Green Spruce. I'm president of the Cranbrook Village Homeowners Association, which abuts this development. I'd like to, first of all, say I agree with Ms. Stephanie English on what she has said. Mr. Yono has been has been trying to get that stretch for many years. And I don't need your... Anyway, I'm glad for the development the way it looks now. We need something on that property. It has been vacant for too many years. We have fought for a reasonable usage of this property. Other business owners up and down Southfield Road are glad to see an Applebee's come in, even some of the fast food restaurants. They would like to go somewhere where they can sit down, have a good dinner, and a beer. I'm concerned about the exit and entrances to the development. I'm also wondering with the restaurant and the businesses, which looks very nice on the schematic behind you, where are the garbage bins? Where are they going to put the trash receptacles? Also, in the original, we knew that out of 120 units, 30 of them were going to be single bedroom units, the other 90 double bedroom units. In this one here, they did not give us that information. How many is building 4 going to be the single bedrooms, or is building 2 going to be the single bedrooms? So there are 2 questions I would like answered. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Gunther. All right. Again, anyone who wishes to speak at this public hearing?
My name is Geraldine Amato. Besides what I said previously on the other public hearing, during the other public hearing, my dog is a little excited because there's someone here she's acquainted with, so she wants to act out and visit. So I have to control her a little bit here. The comprehensive master plan under this private commercial jurisdiction, we might better call it the master's comprehensive plan, because all these zoning issues are under the Uniform Commercial Code, which is connected to the global market, and the municipal corporation all over this country, apparently developed after the Civil War, is linked to property taxes by design. And if anything, if we were really preparing for the future, my argument would be that we would put a moratorium on development and get into some kind of occupations that are going to prepare us for the future. This recent reprieve on the federal government shenanigans up there in Washington, D.C. is just that, a temporary reprieve. They plan to cause a disaster in this economy, and where do you think such projects will wind up at that time? We will be up a creek without a paddle, no way of supporting ourselves, no connection with supply and support. We'll be buildings, asphalt, concrete, and automobiles, none of which will sustain life in any kind of crisis. And regarding this pink circus, it's nationally syndicated and orchestrated. I have a sister who died a torturous death before she was 50 years old, some so-called breast cancer. This pink circus only enhances the industry of cancer treatment. That's all it's doing. It's already known many of the causes of cancer, and absolutely nothing is being done to prevent those causes from continuing in society. The last meeting, you had that talk about those cell phone towers and telecommunications towers. We know all the beams coming from those towers are not good on our vitality, and some people who are weaker than others will be more likely to succumb to illnesses like cancer, and yet we keep enhancing them and building them and adding them. So unless the good people of this nation take control of what happens as far as what we do with what resources we still have in possession, this county, Oakland County, is considered by some conventional measurement the wealthiest county in Michigan. I can tell you that the wealth is not owned by the people here, but some people do have resources in possession. And when developers come here, they still have some resources in possession, but because of the shortness of their sight, they're investing and squandering their resources in a manner which will backfire on them and leave them high and dry as well as the rest of us. With the resources still in possession of good people here, there should be a different tack on how those resources are invested. But as long as we remain obedient servants to our masters that run this global economy and own the bankster cartels, we are going to inherit disaster. We have a short timeline here to redeem ourselves as a free people and to recover ourselves in control of our own resources, our own life and liberty. If we don't do anything different, look forward to, if you're allowed to live, slavery. And there will be a bloody battle in this continent. we can look around the world and see how many people's lives are being destroyed by plan. And the mouthpieces from Washington, D.C. double talk us to death, and they tell us that all these things are happening beyond their control, when they're the people behind the mouthpieces are the ones that are orchestrating all these mass genocides all over the earth. And they plan to bring it home here, too. This nation has the grandest outlaws in control, and they have their hands and their feet deep into the global international occurrences. And we're around here just doing business as usual, like nothing is wrong, and this recent federal circus up there has nothing to do with reality, right? They plan to pull it off. They gave us a reprieve this time, but they don't plan to keep it up that way. They're going to collapse this economy. They're going to not raise that debt ceiling, and all these projects will be for naught.
Seconds, Mr.
And we will
Motto.
wind up with a totalitarian disaster besides being poverty-stricken.
Anyone else who wishes to address the council?
Mr. President, my name is Gerard Mullen. My address is Post Office Box 155, Southfield, Michigan 48037. Council's legal notice for this public hearing, ZR 1319, violates state law twice because it fails to describe properly the true nature of this request by misstating two material facts. Misstatement number one. Council's legal notice for this public hearing implies a rezoning of a residential district, when in fact all of this property is currently zoned a vehicular parking district, period. In a word, a parking lot. This council has a very short memory. Let me help you refresh your memory. On 2/11/13, you folks rezoned all of this property. That's right, all of St. Bede's property into a vehicular parking district when you enacted ordinance number 1601, thus enabling ZR 1315. ZR 1315 was approved on January 14th, 2013, based on a request by Jerry Yono, owner of the Southfield Funeral Home, to rezone 3 parcels of land into a vehicular parking district. One of the 3 parcels was and is Sidwell Parcel 2, 4, 1, 1, 4, 7, 9, 0, 6, 5. Let me repeat that. Sidwell parcel number 2, 4, 1, 1, 4, 7, 9, 0, 6, 5, which consisted of 100%, that's right, 100% of then St. Bede's property, and today consists of 100% of the petitioner's property. The record is clear. This council really screwed up big. This is not my opinion. This is based on council's own set of facts, not mine. This is council's minutes, not mine. This is council's approved minutes, not mine. This is council's screw up, not mine. This is council's approved screw up, not mine. This is council's set of facts, their own set of facts. You, the elected officials here, the Gang of 7, screwed up big time in prime time when you erroneously rezoned all of St. Bede's property into a parking lot. You folks have pulled some real boners in the past, but this one takes the cake. Think about it. This brain-dead council here converted a church into a parking lot at the request of an undertaker. Go figure. Check it out. Check it out. Misstatement number 2. When you add up the total acreage of all three listings contained within council's legal notice, it adds up to 9.45 acres. In contrast, the city assessor's records states 9.13 acres. How did council come up with that extra 1/3 of an acre? So who's right here? The city assessor or this brain-dead council? Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address the council at this public hearing? Good evening, Ms. Yi.
Hi.
You may begin.
Lin Fong Yi. I reside at 20130 Winchester, just north of here. The first time I set foot on this site that has brought up so much contention and so many hours of discussion, I went there for a very calm wedding, and it was just in what it was the chapel, which no longer exists. I feel this piece of land is really crying to us. Now, never mind the building. We have to stop all this contentiousness and arguing and negative discussion, because we're way past that. Southfield is at a cusp of change. There's great change coming, some negatively, some positively. Some has affected me personally. I won't go into that. We have to drop all this contentiousness and go ahead. I don't totally agree with everything Mr. Jonna plans. I do not eat at Applebee's, unfortunately, because I'm a vegetarian. I'm sorry. And the food does not agree with me. But I say, vote and put in this wonderful new, it's not wonderful, it is the most wise development for us at this point. We have to remain Southfield, the city, the center of it all. I had considered moving away, but I am going to stay here and fight through it. You guys do that too. Cut out all this contentiousness. It's boring me. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else wishing to address the council on this issue? Ms. Rose, you'll be next.
Could we put the site back up on the screen?
Mr. Bunker, this is a public hearing. Just state what
I
you're
was
going to
address the lack of entry and how close the entryways are to.
This is on the rezoning through the chair. This is just the rezoning.
This is just the rezoning. It's not the site plan.
So the zoning at the near rear was zoned RA. Do I understand where it covers the, I think it's the northwest corner? Was that a RA zoned property? I'm referring to one of the slides that maybe we couldn't see in the audience there. This RA, is that different from R1?
Yes.
In what
Mr. We'll answer your questions at the end of your comments.
We will.
We will.
You will?
Yeah,
okay.
We'll answer your
Well,
questions.
it concerned me because we had another one of these walking ideas where residents would walk and stay in a community where I live when the Beechwoods Hamlet was introduced. Mm-hmm. And despite Mr. Siver's letter, after the 3-3 vote, that year was defeated to spend the $27,000 it would take when Mr. Lance, along with two other council members, voted against rezoning for the $27,000 that was going to cost us. That guy, Nick Banda, told us it would call for form-based zoning. And I'm wondering if this is not part of that continuance of this special zoning when properties bordering RA or differently, as I live in R1. At the time, the property was all listed as RA. And I'm wondering if this has been a thorough site plan. Again, I guess we're talking about rezoning. And I would agree that RS, is this at all regional center, this zoning their consideration?
It's B2.
I'm sorry?
B2, I'm sorry.
B2, business. So
Yeah.
there's residential housing allowed in B2? Because it says
We'll explain that again. Just go ahead with your...
Well, I'm concerned that once it becomes some other zoning, a school could be built there.
I'm taking
These
notes
people
on
may
your-
have spent a good amount of time coming up with ideas to put maybe dollar stores and hair nail clinics in these retail outlets that typically, as we've seen nearby in Beach and 9 Mile, 12 and Telegraph, it's just a revolving door. And as you know, this zoning to seemingly hurry this process up to develop more in the theory that it'll bring tax revenue sometimes fails, as it did in the community we had hoped you would pursue, Mr. Siver, after you personally were unable to attend. Subsequent, the 3-3 vote prevented, and you told us back then that it would be continued as the mayor claimed we need to keep it on the board of consideration. Has there been any discussion since then about this Beechwoods Hamlet? Walking, bookstores, the same explanation we've heard here tonight about a property at Southfield and 12 Mile. If you're a resident waiting to get home after a long day, you've got a long wait if you're headed on Southfield or 12 Mile. People get very irate on those streets. Twice I've been in a car accident, not my fault, that people trying to get over to the left or to the right assume that people behind them understand that. It's an awfully messy place for traffic, and to involve residential in the middle of business, where part of their exclamation was a seating area, where residential could sit outside their unit and look at B2, which I've had a lot of that viewing CS, where I put a chair out, and it's likely to kill me because of the exhaust fumes that in that corner especially are about as unlikely to be a benefit to residents as anything in that corner, less the busy intersection, and with the increase of people taking their lives and others in these car chases that often start right in the city. And it's awkward to see that big a space where imagining a police chase or anything else might end up in there and put further harm onto residents expecting a quality of life that can't be realized in that location. And I appreciate the effort, and I think it's a good idea. I just can't believe anybody would want to live in that location, and it might be better to find another purpose. Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Bunker. Ms. Rose, you're next.
Good evening. Uni Rose, 26477 Franklin Point Drive. I did not expect to speak tonight, but I really have to. I absolutely support this. I think we need it. And if I could talk about the site plan, I would, but I can't do that now. I am telling you, I am sold on Applebee's. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience who wishes to address council on this rezoning request? If not, I'm going to declare the public hearing closed. And Mr. Planner, we're back to you.
With the help of the developer, I'll try to address some of the issues that were raised.
Okay.
And again, our focus is just on the rezoning at this point, but several of the speakers mentioned Mr. Yono's property. At least for background, I believe he currently has existing 67 parking spaces available. Based on the approvals and the vacation of the cache earlier in the year by the council, he could develop up to 151 spaces. With the revised layout minus the 0.11 acres that is part of Mr. Jonah's property, he could still develop 133 spaces. So he could double the existing amount of parking that he currently has based on what the council approved earlier in the year.
Yeah. If I could just highlight that 1 second. Council did approve the vacation of the dead end of Kesh Street, and Mr. Ono owns the two houses, or there were two houses on the north side of Kesh. He's since torn one down. One house still remains. So all of that property is available and under the control now of Mr. Ono and the Southfield Funeral Home.
Another question, again, this might be site-specific, but Mr. Jonah, there was a question about how many units would be single bed versus how many units which would be two-bedroom.
Mr. President, if I may, proportionally, we're taking 12 units away from the original, and proportionally, that's going to be reduced. Three one-bedrooms and 9 two-bedrooms.
So overall, how many one-bedrooms?
30, so it'll be 27, and 90 less 9, so 81.
Okay, thank you. I believe Mr. Bunker asked the difference between RA and R1. It really has to do with minimum lot size and setbacks, but they all do allow single-family residential. The property is currently zoned R2 single-family, which does allow religious institutions and schools. So it's currently zoned to allow for schools. And the request is to go to RMM, which is multiple family medium rise, which allows up to 5 stories on the western portion of the property, and then B2, which is planned business, allows various types of commercial uses on the eastern portion of the property. The rest of the comments were either in favor or against.
Okay. All right. Anything else to add? Or if not, I will ask council to invite council to ask questions or comments. Ms. Seymour.
Okay. I have a lot to say about this. First of all, Mr. Cyber's email mentioned that if we don't act on this tonight, that Mr. Jonas said this, we would lose Applebee's. You would lose Applebee's if we didn't act upon this tonight. This is what you said in your email to us. So that concerns me, because I'm glad Mr. Shostak is here tonight, because what I'm hearing from people in the area and people who are involved in real estate is that Applebee's is growing, expanding, and has been wanting to come to Southfield for 10 years and wants to come here. And yet, Mr. Jonas said he had to twist the arm of Applebee's to come here. You did say that at one point.
If you'd like me to address, there's definite competition for this Applebee's to come here. Applebee's will, and maybe David will address it a lot better than I will. There are other communities that are vying to have this store in one of their lots, just like the Marshalls that was further north of us closed.
Go ahead.
That closed and moved south to 8 Mile and Woodward. Everybody is vying for these tenants. They believe that this is probably the same market, service the same market because of the radius and how it is to get there.
Can I just interrupt you? What I was told is that right in that area, between 12 and 12.5 Mile Road, that people are talking to Applebee's, that Applebee's has approached several people, and they're going to, whether they come to your spot or not, they're going to be there. So, I mean, to hold it, to have it held, I'm not saying you're doing this, but to say that we'll lose Applebee's, which some people really want, I don't think that's going to happen.
Just for clarity purposes, we're not talking to anybody else in that 12 to 12. There was some discussion when Walmart was going here.
Could you come to the microphone, please?
Just for the record, we're not talking to anyone else between 12 and 12 and a half mile road. We're either going to do business with the Jonah companies or we're not going to be in this area.
You don't want to be in Southfield other than to be in this project?
I'm just trying to be specific to you. We'd like to be here, but we are not talking to anybody else. At one point in the past, we were talking to some people across the street when Walmart was taking this. And in that context, when this site was going there, but once the Walmart got turned down, it is correct that Arkin brought us back to the site, had us reconsider this site, had us incorporated it into his plan, and we are talking only to him right now about this particular area.
All right, but if for some reason this project didn't go forward, would you still want to be in that area?
I think the best to describe it is we wouldn't have any plans to be in this area, and we are looking at other areas that compete with it. We'd like to be in this area, but at some given point, we need to move on.
I understand. Thank you. Okay, I'm really, I think there's value in waiting for the right development. And I've said this in the past, don't take the first thing that comes along. Wait for the right thing. This piece of property, Mr. Jonah, I'm not going to need to ask questions, but you can respond if you want. This piece of property is our last prime commercial site. It's just over 9 acres. It is a premier site, prime piece of commercial property. We don't have anything like this anywhere else that has this positioning. And people are saying put something there because it got seedy looking and the grass was growing up between the concrete. I don't think that's a good reason to say put something there because it looks terrible. Wait for the right thing. In my opinion, this is not the right thing, and I'll tell you why. There's no proof of demand for housing units between a busy funeral home and a strip mall. I think you were right, Mr. Bunker. The high-end prices of these, the people that Mr. Jonah has stated that he would like to attract and thinks he can, are from the young professionals from Beaumont Hospital. Well, along Coolidge Road, they have a lot of apartments that are a lot less, that are very attractive. Closer to them, there are new apartments in Royal Oak. So I don't find this a convincing argument that the people from Beaumont are going to want to migrate over here because we have nothing really for these, quote, young professionals to keep them here other than having I wouldn't want to say to somebody, I live over there between the funeral home and the strip mall, so you can, that's, and especially at that rent price of what, $1,400 to $1,700, yeah, it doesn't make sense to me. I just don't believe there's any proof of demand. I know you say that there's a study that was done that says it is, but studies can say whatever we want them to say. I think overall this is below the Southfield standard. I consider it a lackluster development for prime property. The taxes that it would bring are roughly $130,000. One police officer. This would pay for one police officer. And to me, it's not worth putting in the wrong development. Forbes magazine said we are one of the best and most livable cities in the country. Southfield is admittedly the business center of southeast Michigan, or of southern Michigan. So why are we willing to settle for something that probably isn't right? I just don't believe there's a demand for units like that between a busy funeral home and a strip mall. And I believe it's below the Southfield standard. I think it's a lackluster development for prime property. I think it's a very confusing approach. And I would say for this proposal, there's nothing would attract either young professionals or families. It has an industrial appearance, no pizzazz, no outstanding features, and no redeeming social values given the prime location. To me, it's simply a bad deal for the public, and we can do better. I just think the waivers the last 3 waivers that are requested it's improper to expect the ZBA to approve these because the waivers were created due to your own creating a hardship for yourself. And that was what I am told is an illegal thing for us to approve. So I'm not interested in having something that just will get rid of that blighted site. It's best to wait for the right thing. I am not going to support this because I think it's the wrong thing for this site, and I think that we can do better.
Mr.
That's
President,
it.
if I may.
Yes.
Ms. Seymour, I agree with you on one count, that this is a prime piece of real estate and it's a great location. I believe that we've looked at land use here and have provided the absolute best use for this land. The Southfield frontage being fronted with retail and using the residential to buffer that retail from the residential, the R1 or R2, that's to the, I'm sorry? RA, that's to the west. The Shostacks and I recently worked on a project for Beaumont at the corner of 13 Mile and Woodward. And we learned from that site that absolutely there's room for residential in the proximity of Beaumont Hospital. We believe, and we wouldn't be investing the dollars that we're going to be investing here if we didn't think 100% this happens. This is not our first trip to the rodeo, and in developing these types of properties, we've done this all over Tri-County, Livingston, Genesee counties. We feel very comfortable and very confident that the residential use and especially the retail and the restaurant will do very, very well here and will survive.
Mr. Cyber, if I may, I did have some more that I wanted to add to this. You say that you've done this all over, but you're not known for developing residential. You're known for developing these strip malls, high-end, most of them.
We've, in the last 5 years, have gotten into the residential. You're absolutely right. We've taken on properties in the city of Detroit. In fact, within the next 2 to 4 weeks, we'll be starting on the first mid-rise on the riverfront, downtown Detroit, in over 25 years. We're very confident of what we're doing, and we believe that we can do this kind of product.
But have you done other residential? People tell me that you say you're going to do residential with commercial, and then you do the commercial and you don't do the residential.
Absolutely not. We
own
Harbor Town. We own.
But that's a brand. That's now. I'm talking about a history.
No, within the last 5 years, we own Harbor Town. We own the 30 acres, 35-acre development that's retail and has 351 two high-rise buildings and townhouses on the site. We own the property, and we're now putting in another tower, another 142 units at that site.
Well, everybody would like to be in that location and look over the Detroit River.
Absolutely.
That's
gorgeous.
unquestionable. That's a very... All right, I've got some questions I would like to ask you, if you don't mind, because it's about the retail. What do you anticipate as your commercial tenant mix, and how will you go about getting that?
The tenant mix, we've got approximately 30,000 square feet besides the Applebee's. Half we've planned to do approximately half of it as food. We believe that this is Morningside traffic.
Are you talking about like restaurant type?
Yes.
Not a grocery store?
Not a grocery
okay.
store, no. Half is slated to be food. We believe that this is morning drive traffic. We know we'll get a morning coffee or one of the morning users. We believe that this is a great food site that'll service not just the neighborhood, but a great amount of, it's 12 Mile and Southfield. The traffic is tremendous. The exposure is even better. We know that we can fill the balance of the 15,000 square foot with very good national retailers. How we fill and how we merchandise properties, until we have a site plan that's approved, we really can't go out to the market. We can only discuss it with prospective tenants. What we do is we from within our portfolio, we've got 550, 600 tenants that currently lease from us in various shopping centers all over town. We will do an email blast to our existing tenants, and probably 75% of this property will be leased to those tenants that are already within our portfolio. This was one of the properties that was on the retail bus tour last week, and was received very, very cordial, very, very nicely by the whole retail community as to what we're looking to do here.
Okay, can I ask you some questions about what you might not have? Because I've been asked this, so I'm going to ask you. Will you have a dollar store?
No.
Will you have a smoker's store?
I don't think so right now, no.
Will you have a discount store?
Depending on what type of discount store it is.
Will you have a blood plasma store?
No.
Is that a no?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, Seymour, if I may.
Well, people have asked me this.
This is a very expensive piece of real estate.
I know that.
The buildings that we build are very expensive buildings. We're long-term holders of real estate, so we like to think we do it right. The rents that are going to be asked of this property are, I don't think, seen in this market. We know we can create a new market with what we do. The better the product that we have, the better the rent that we can demand for this product.
I think what I'm getting at is I want this to be what the residents want and what the residents need. So, the residents are going to be the people that are going to support you or not.
I can tell you that a plasma center or a discount store will not be able to afford to pay the rents that this property is going to demand.
Well, it wouldn't make it as attractive as it might be otherwise. That's what people tell me that, and I have to agree with them. I guess what bothers me, a couple other questions. What are you going to do in terms of finishing out this? Are you going to install the floors? Are you going to install the glass? Are you going to wait till you have tenants with the strip mall?
We feel that by the time we start construction, once we have site plan approval, we'll market it. We like to take reservations until we start construction. We actually won't sign any leases. We'll try not to sign any leases unless it's somebody we truly want here until we start construction. The properties that we're currently developing, be it in Rochester Hills, Ferndale, by the time the steel goes up, we're 75-80% leased. With that said, we will put definitely the glass in. We will do all the underground. It will look like a finished product. We'll do the underground on a generic basis. We'll bring all the power in, and once the tenants are identified and leased, we will build out their spaces.
So it won't look like an unfinished?
Absolutely not.
Okay. Again, I would hope that you would want to find out what the residents want, because a lot of that is going to be local business, I would presume. I still think it's very speculative, and I don't think it's the right thing for this. I'd rather have all commercial, to be honest with you, because I don't think there's a demand for these apartments. And Belmont has places much closer to their hospital. I'm not going to be able to support this, but thank you for having this dialogue.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just have, I think it's a great development. I just want to have one situation that I still can't be for, and that is that piece that goes into the residential neighborhood. I drove that street the other day, and if you look at that subdivision, it's a small subdivision. It just goes up and around and comes back, and it goes into Cranbrook's. but it's a small subdivision. I talked to a young man that was cutting his grass on the corner of that first street when you turn left at the break. And I was asking him about that, and he was mentioning the same thing. What will happen to our street if there's an intrusion into that little subdivision? And I guess I'm really concerned about that. And I don't know if too many times, if any, that we have really intruded into a residential neighborhood. We have one at 9 Mile Road presently where church wants to expand into the neighborhood to the south, and we have refused to let them do that. And we're keeping consistent with what we feel is keeping the neighborhood strong. I'd really object to the intrusion. And that's why Walmart's site plan had a straight line all the way through the back to support and protect that one little subdivision that's back there. And but outside of that, it's a great development.
Mr. President, if I may.
Yes.
Mr. Fracassi, in knowing what you're talking about right now, I believe without us being required to deal with the neighbors, and we can live by ordinance and do whatever ordinance requires us. I spoke with the city planners that I'd like to see if we can get a hold of the people that are adjacent to our property. And, you know, right now there's heavy foliage. It's green and it's very dense. I believe that it's just overgrown.
I'm sorry, where are you speaking to?
I'm talking about the northern part of our.
There are 5 lots of residential lots.
There's residential lots, and then you don't have a site plan aerial of that, do you, by any chance? You know, there's a little subdivision in there. There's only one street in, and one same street out. And then there's one that goes into Cranbrook, the larger portion of the subdivision. But there's one little subdivision in there that needs really protection, and they're colonial homes, especially the one that this gentleman was cutting his grass. Give me Guy Street going in.
Right here. Yeah.
Yeah. It goes up and around. No, but I'm telling you haven't got it on the plan. You're cut off there a little bit. It goes up Guy Street, comes up in Winterset, I think it is, and comes back around. And it's just, I don't know how many houses in there, but not too many. And I just feel very strongly that neighborhood should be protected. If it was all a Cranbrook, but it's not. It's one little subdivision there, and they got very concerned when the shopping center went in up to the north, and Home Depot and all these places went in along Southfield Road, and I guess they feel really that their houses are really going to be in a bad state as far as value if it continues in that fashion. Yeah.
2 issues.
Yeah.
One is that we're putting residential adjacent.
No, this is where the community house. One map says it's the community house, the other one says it's a pool.
The community house and the pool is adjacent to
Yeah.
the funeral home parking lot. What's supposed to be
No, but across the street. Across the street. That's what I'm talking about. That map doesn't have it for some reason, that aerial.
The parking lot, the funeral home parking lot, it's nothing to do, our residential is right here, and then you've got the parking lot, then you've got the street. What I was referring to is northwest quadrant, or the northwest, are the ones that we would have an effect on as far as screening and as far as light.
No, I'm talking about the one across the street. I was there. I drove it. And I had complaints, and I had people stating that they wanted the neighborhood protected, and because they've just been pounded, and they didn't want Walmart, and they were very concerned. But what happens, Mr. Jonah, and I hope you respect the people who live there, that if you have a community house and especially a pool, if that was reversed, if it was reversed where it was all multiples all the way up and down, there'd be no problem. But what happened is you moved a community house and a pool, which is in a lot of people's mind going to be noisy, parties, that kind of thing, intrusion into that small little subdivision. And I agree with that. I just would not live near a pool where people are going to be having pool parties, talking loud, and
our original plan actually had that. Where we had
it's the one I have. It's the one I have.
Right, the community hall was on the inside, and the pool.
They reversed the waiver, Don.
We changed that because we needed another variance, and we wanted to eliminate as many of the variances as we needed that we could do.
Well,
if you'd like, I'd
maybe
add
that's the problem.
I think that's the right thing to do.
Maybe that's the problem. I've got so many plans up here that are different. I've got one here where the clubhouse is in, the pool is intrusion. I got one over here where the community house is intruding in the part.
This is the revised plan. He originally had the clubhouse here, and this was to do away with a waiver. He switched it. He put the pool here and the clubhouse here. He really wanted the clubhouse here.
Yeah, but you'd have the same situation. Let me just say this, Mr. Jonah. It seems that Mr. Frazier lives in Green Dolphin. Bradford School goes in there. We've got nothing but aggravation with kids making noise in the subdivision and adjoining houses. We have this constantly when we approve uses that are not in any way compatible with the residential. We end up with calls. We can end up with the police calls, and I guess, I just think that this is still another situation where it's number one is an intrusion. Number two is the use is not compatible to residential, and and that's my feeling. The rest of the thing is gorgeous. I love every bit of it, but I don't ever like to see. I mean, we've
come a long way. Thank you very much.
What? We've come a long way. I got some changes on your site plan yet. But no,
we've come a long way.
The plan is great. I welcome the plan, but that one intrusion in the residential is a problem for me.
You're talking just that L piece where.
The bump out.
The bump out is the only thing that you're talking about.
Well, I guess so. You what?
It's next to the
parking
lot. It's adjacent to the parking lot.
There's a real nice colonial house right across the street from that.
But that's to be torn down. That's the funeral home.
No. That's on the same side.
Oh, on the other side.
Yeah, see, you can't see it because the map is cut off.
The driveway is to it right there.
Yeah. And it goes up and around. You don't have a drawing of that, do you? You don't have a city map. I don't know why you cut off residential from these maps. But anyway, it comes around, it goes in, comes up around, and then comes back and goes out. There's one little road that goes into the main Cranbrooks. But there's one little subdivision just comes around, I don't know, maybe, 20 homes maybe, the most. And that's, and I just think, and this goes right into it. It's the only, problem I have with anything.
I should probably know that because I learned how to drive in that subdivision back in there. So when I was 15 years old.
Then you should know it. I don't know. I mean, I got a lot of people, and I don't, I've been here long enough to if people are wrong, they're wrong. When they're right, they're right. In this case, they're right.
We could look at taking the redesigning and taking that notch out of the plan. It causes several other problems that we have. We've got to have variances for.
But I would rather see you get variances to make it happen and work than go into and intrude into that small little residential neighborhood.
We need to make sure we can get variances. We can get there's land versus building issues. There's parking
I think
issues.
those depend on the recommendation of the planner, and I hope that he would work with you in that regard,
And the building department.
and the building department. Yeah, but the rest of it, Mr. Jonah, God bless you, man.
Thank you.
It's nice.
Okay. All right, Mr. Lance is next.
Well, where do I start?
Should I sit down?
The traffic.
We've got a traffic consultant that we've brought on board. He is actually dealing with Oakland County Road Commission to see what we're going to be required to do as far as the curb cuts along Southfield and along 12 Mile. He's working on doing, and whatever the Oakland County Road Commission says we have to do, we'll be living by that.
They've been working on it for a long time now, for months.
Until we get a site plan approved, we can't formally go to them and ask to have this done, because we're going to design something that you don't approve. Until you approve something, we can't go to them with a formal plan. They've looked at this and they agree with the curb cuts that are there. They just need a final site plan so that we could do a final plan and submit for permits.
All right. You showed us pictures up there, which look beautiful. Which one are you bringing to Southfield?
The elevation that you saw for this property. We have different variations of.
I'm looking at this, and this is horrible.
It's horrible?
Horrible.
I don't know if I agree with
Your
you.
architecture, it's, you look at it and you say, wow, you can't do that. This isn't a wow. This is, huh? Look at it. Okay. This is not nice enough to be built in Southfield. This is not A1 development. Okay. I'm looking at the whole development of the retail. Flat roofs, it's a box, which they called Walmart a box. This is a bigger box. That's what I see, okay? Now, the brownfields, are you coming to us for a tax abatement for the brownfields?
We've had an initial meeting with the Brownsfield Authority at South, yes.
Well, now Walmart was here and they were going to pay for everything.
You know, sir.
You're going to come to us.
I'm not Walmart. I don't know why
you're not
everybody
too far removed from them.
Really?
Yeah. Well, look
okay.
Okay.
I tell you, it's like I hit the lotto
All
tonight.
right, we're making a joke about it, but it's going to cost, if you come to us for a brownfield, no matter what anybody says here, it's going to cost the people. It's going to cost the people, and they're going to fund you. I don't know how much, $1 million, $2 million. I don't know what the brownfields will cost. But you're having the same development as Walmart, as long as the same amount of people you're going to have. I'm sure of it. But we can't afford to give you a tax abatement, and you're going to come and ask for it. Are you?
We had an initial conversation with the Brownsfield Authority here in Southfield.
You're talking to the council. You're talking to a councilman now, not the authority in Southfield. Appointed authorities. They mean nothing. We have the authority, not the staff or anybody else. Not the planner, nobody else but us. We're responsible to the people for what we do. And if you come to us for a brownfield, it has to cost us tax money, or it costs them tax money. Okay? You can't answer it. I know you can't. Now, This development, to me, is an obsolete design. You showed us up there beautiful places, beauties. Bring one of them here to Southfield, and I'll agree. I don't agree on these designs. I haven't seen the design, the new design for the apartments. To me, it's a box, too. So all over, you're coming in here and not giving us the best you could.
Mr. Lance, I
had
respectfully
pictures up there.
disagree with you.
Okay,
I
you're
believe
allowed.
I believe that what we've put together is a very fine development. I know that the development will be constructed with the finest and most
I'm not
lasting
talking about the
materials.
construction. I'm talking design. I'm talking about architecture and design. You're not bringing it here. You brought it elsewhere. I saw the pictures here. Okay, another. Well, I said it's not an A1 designed development. We don't know. We don't know when the. All right. What about the retail? I think Joan started to ask who are you going to bring in, and you don't know yet. I'm sure you're going to bring you won't get the national chains coming in here. I'm positive of that. They're not going to come into a development like this. You're going to get the retailers that work the areas. You're going to get the pizzas and the salons and that type. We have enough of those, and I don't believe those bigger retailers will come into your place because there's no room for them there. So it's going to be an ordinary development like it's in Dearborn on Warren and all that stuff. It's the same thing. That's what I see. You may not agree, of course not. But
Yeah.
we need better development than what you're offering us.
All right.
Better design. And you can't answer me. You don't know. This is the design.
I believe I did answer you, sir.
I know. All right. And I'm not satisfied.
I'd like the council to get back on the rezoning and less about the site plan.
You'll let
We have that coming up. Right
Let
now
me
on the
finish.
floor is the rezoning.
I want an answer. I want an answer.
He gave you an answer.
He gave me? I'll give him my answer. No.
Okay.
As you're entitled. Okay. Anyhow, we have the rezoning on the floor. Is there any other
Public hearing
comment?
closed?
I'm sorry?
Is the public hearing closed?
The public hearing is closed. This council portion, we're talking about the rezoning of this property. Once again, we're rezoning 0.11 acre to multiple family mid-rise. We're rezoning 4.74 acres from single-family residential to B2, and 4.6 acres from R2 to multiple family residential.
Mr. Chairman, clarification.
Yes.
To the planner, that 1.11 acre of vehicular parking,
Yes, sir.
is that little piece?
That's correct.
The bump
That's
out.
the little notch.
It's a little notch.
All right, Mr. Moss is next.
Yeah, I do have questions on the site plan, which can wait until we bring that up. But there have been some questions from members of the public, even questions from our own council, talking about, in specific, the residential portion of it. Why is it needed? We don't need it. We already have enough housing options, and I really wanted to shine a light on my take on, why I think this is exactly the type housing option we do need in this area, in this city. I think Southfield is, as Southfield developed, we had all these single family family houses and developments and neighborhoods and subdivisions all throughout the city that popped up. And right now we're oversaturated with a housing stock that doesn't meet the housing needs of an emerging generation. We've talked about the young professionals in the other public hearing. We can talk about young professionals in this public hearing. It's a generation, which I'm part of, that I think it's weary of home ownership. Not marrying as young, so not having children at a young age. So when young professionals in this area are looking for a place to live, it's not, we're not looking in necessarily into neighborhoods. So this type of development is new for Southfield, and right now we're losing out to the Royal Oaks and the Ferndales, where this floating potential of economic development lives. And then when this generation gets married, has children, they're not coming back to Southfield. They're going to live in the community that they have lived and look for homes in the community where they've made their lives. So that's why this is on the cusp of making sure we attract that potential for the next generation to come. I know that there's a generational divide on this council, and I know that some members of council wouldn't necessarily want to live in a development like this, but I would. And I think that it fits exactly a void of the type of residential areas that we need in Southfield. So I'm more than okay with how the residential portion is designed, developed. I know that there are people that are going to want to move into Southfield because this is an option now. So I just wanted to put those 2 cents in there because there's been some concern that these 108 units are just going to be not attractive, and I totally disagree with that. I have some questions about the site plan, but I can wait.
Mr. Chairman?
Until the site plan.
I'm going to try a motion here, if I may. I move that the proposed R2 to B2 be approved, the proposed R2 to RMM be approved, and the proposed P to RMM be denied.
Is there a second for that?
Which one is to be denied?
Yeah.
Just that little intrusion into single family.
Mr. Chair, there's like a lot of chatter, and it's very difficult to focus.
Yeah, it's just that little
there could be decorum
intrusion into the residential is the only piece. The rest of it's fine.
Once again, that bump out is next to the funeral home parking lot.
But I'm trying to tell you, if you look across the street from this
Well,
thing
they're going to have
here,
a parking lot across the street from them.
From where?
It's already been approved. Again, I'll go down and show you.
No, I've been there. I've seen it.
Well,
I mean, I know where it is, but it doesn't have the other side of the street. Yeah.
This is the best we've got, but this is all going to be, that house is coming down, this house has been torn down, so the house you're talking about is over here, I believe.
But it's all up in there, Ken. It's that house right there on that corner, down here. It's here and all this stuff up here. I'm sorry, just a minute. No, Ken, these are houses across here from the funeral home, but you go up there to the next corner intersection, those are all houses. They go up there and they make a loop and they come back to this street right here to Chris. So it goes up, they come around to this street.
You want the line straight.
Yeah, that's all. Well, I don't know about a funeral home. I don't even know. I'm not paying attention to the funeral home. I'm talking about the residents.
Mr. Chair, if I may.
I don't know how else to,
Mr. Fracassi?
Yes, sir.
I will, I need to look at the overall development and what effect that that little sliver of land does to our development. I don't want to be, I don't want to look at the ordinances at another ordinance and what we have to do to get this property developed without that little piece. I have land coverage, I have parking requirements, and I'd like to have a pool and community center. If we don't rezone this, the residential, I have to look at a whole new residential way of doing this. I can tell you that we will look at this, and if we can get variances from ZBA as to the development without the land use and without eliminating a few parking spaces to be able to eliminate that sliver, I'll be more than happy to live with what you're looking for. What I'm asking for is I would like to have this rezoned, and we will look at doing what you're asking for to bring it back to a parking. But if we don't rezone that little sliver, and we have to go in front of ZBA, and all of a sudden I'm required more parking, I'm going to have more parking variance, and I'm going to need a more land use, the land density, it just throws this whole thing out of whack. I can probably live with that. What I'm telling you is I can probably do this without it. I just don't want to be, I don't want to go back to ZBA and have to eliminate another 10 units of apartments here because of that sliver.
Yeah, I'm just saying is, if the apartments that are next to the shopping center, if this thing was reversed and all the apartments were adjacent to the residence, that would be no problem at all for me.
That's what we're doing.
No. You got two halves on each side of you got the two halves. But I said if the long one went all the way across the bottom, just reversed it, and then you have activity that would be adjacent to the shopping center, and you'd have residential to residential is what I'm getting at. You know, I'm just saying is.
Just want to make sure that I've got the parking that I need to get through ZBA.
I mean, even the noise factor, it wouldn't bother as much to the back of that shopping center as it does affecting these residents down below.
Okay.
So are you saying reverse the two large buildings?
Yeah, have all residential along this side.
Put the clubhouse up on the in the middle.
I don't care. I don't want to kill the clubhouse, but I'm just saying is I'm worried about the intrusion of the residential.
If I could
flip it
to Mr. Fracassi.
Yes.
Just so we can try to resolve something, would you be amenable to having the clubhouse and the pool shifted north and notched against the residential, and then this just be squared off with parking?
I don't want that tip into residential.
Right. It's currently zoned parking.
Pardon? I don't care about what it's zoned. I'm just trying to...
So if that was green space?
Pardon? If it's green space.
That's okay?
Yes, I don't care.
Okay. So...
You see, I'm sorry, Mr. Planner, I'm going to tell you, it always comes back to bite us when we intrude a use into residential. And all of a sudden, it looks nice on paper. Then there's activities that occur there, and the neighbors all call us and say, we've got noise, we got this. Now it's up to us to be the bad guy, to go there and say, hey, you're too loud, we're going to ticket you, and all this baloney. We had it with these apartments up here on 12 Mile Road. We have it at Bradford Academy. Everywhere that we've had an intrusion in residential, we end up getting the complaints.
Mr. President, if I may,
I'm sorry.
I can live with what Mr. Fracassi is asking for.
Okay.
The motion that he's looking for.
All right.
Not to change the zoning on that little sliver of land, leave it as parking.
Leave it as parking. I would have a question on that.
Yeah, I would
If it was, you're next. If that was parking, could that include garages as parking?
Well, The problem that creates with garages is then the
waiver. I understand
waiver
that.
issue.
All right. I want to talk about the garages, but we'll wait for the site plan. Mayor?
What garages?
Well, when we get
they're
to
all north.
Yeah, but I want to talk about that.
Yeah.
I just want to say that the council meeting is turning into a place where we're rediscussing site plans.
Mm-hmm.
For this developer to stand here and commit to something and he hasn't legitimately looked at the variances and everything else is to me a point of miscomfort, because for him to say he's going to do something, and what if when you get to the reality of it, it can't happen? It should not be, and we have never designed a site plan at a public meeting. It has to go through the site plan committee, and I think, Mr. Fracassi,
It
you're
was
on
raised at that point, by the way.
but we're going down, as Councilman Frazier says so eloquently, a slippery slope. Some kind of way we're not using the process for getting our site plans approved, and here we are coming to meetings. This is the second one where we're debating the details of
No,
it.
this is zoning. It's a separate piece of property.
Well, zoning has nothing to do with flipping
Yes, it
this
does.
site
It's
plan.
on, if you
All
look
right.
at your sheet, it's a separate
You have a
piece of
motion
property.
on the floor. Let's, and, you know, as chair, I'm trying to give everybody the opportunity so that we can get clarity. And I would agree with you, Mayor, I am uncomfortable when you start moving things around. It gets, this is really not the place
Chairman?
for it. But anyhow, you've made a motion. Would you please repeat your motion?
My motion would be what is recommended in the ZR 1319, accepting the 111 acre that is separately, a separate piece that is zoned, that is identified, that is.
We're leaving it as parking.
It is marked parking to RMM
All right.
proposed.
So we're doing the proposal, but we're not doing the
Right, there's
0.11 acre. We're leaving that.
There's three zones.
Right.
And I'm going for the multiples and the commercial.
Right. Okay. Does everybody understand the motion?
Yes.